Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this hot pad here. It's actually really pretty easy. It's a simple 1-row repeat. It does make quite a pretty stitch. I'll have to go ahead and take the measurements of it here. Counting the picots, it's about 8 inches. About 8 inches. So now this, I consider this a hot pad to where if you take your pots or your pans, you take your pot off the stove and set this on the counter and set your pot on it. I would not recommend grabbing anything out of the oven with it, like a pot holder. If you want to do that, definitely make 2 of these and double it up to give you extra thickness. But as it stands now, either decoration, it'd make a great hot pad to set your pans on when they're hot so you don't burn your countertop, or you can even use it for a wash rag if you wanted to. But, you know, pot holder wise, if you're going to be grabbing pots, definitely double it up because you don't want to burn your hands. But so let's go ahead and get started on it. Okay, for this project I am using Sugar and Cream. It's a medium weight number 4 100% cotton. Now, you do not have to use this brand, but I highly recommend that you use cotton yarn, because cotton's just best for anything in the kitchen, especially when heat is involved. Cotton won't melt like acrylic can sometimes melt if it reaches temperatures that are too high. Cotton won't do that. So it's best to use cotton. Now this one is a 100% cotton. Now I know there's another popular brand that a lot of people have, Premier Home. Now it's an 85 cotton and a 15 polyester. This one would be okay too. I would not use anything less than an 85% cotton. Now that's just my recommendations. You can do what you want, but that's just what I recommend. The color I used is called Tea Rose, and then I used the same brand cream for the edging if you want to put that on. This was full when I started. Let's see the yardage. I think there's 120 yards. Yeah, 120 yards. So you'll get one, and you might be able to get 2 out of a skein, maybe, but at least 1, probably 2. And then I'm going to be using a size I, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. And I just want to take a second, like always, to ask you, please not to forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you look in the lower right hand corner, you will see a little red subscribe button. If you click on that, you'll automatically be subscribed. Also, you can always check me out on Facebook. The links to that are in the description box. You can show me all your stuff that you made and follow my tutorials, because I'd really love to see them. Or if you have any questions, you can always ask me on there. And also, as always, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. So this stitch is called the Suzette stitch. It's a pretty common stitch. Some of you might have heard of it. Now it's done in it's done in any odd number. So you can chain any odd number. So if you want to make this hot pad bigger or smaller, or you want to use this stitch for something else, because it is a really pretty stitch, you just need to chain an odd number. So if you want to follow along with me, I chained 23. Alright, once you get your chain of 23 made, we are going to be working in the second stitch from the hook. Remember, we don't count the one that's on our hook. So we skip 1, and in the second stitch we're going to work a single crochet and a double crochet into the same stitch. Just like that. And now we're going to skip 1 stitch. So we skip this one, and then the next one we do the same thing. We're going to work a single crochet and a double into the same stitch. Skip 1 stitch, and in the next stitch, again, a single crochet and a double crochet in the same stitch, and that's what we're going to repeat until we get to the end of the row. we're going to skip 1 stitch, and in the next stitch, single crochet and double crochet into the same stitch, skip 1, and in the next, single and double into the same stitch. So I'm going to repeat this pattern until I get to the end of my row. Okay, I've made it to the end of row 1, and I have 1 stitch that remains. Go ahead and single crochet into that last stitch, and that'll end row 1. And you should have 11 sets of these single crochet double crochets into the same stitch. Now row 2 is the repeat row for the entire hot pad. So we chain 1 and turn our work. Now this very first stitch here, we are going to do a single crochet and a double crochet into that same stitch. And then we're going to skip 1 stitch, and in the next stitch, it's a single crochet and a double crochet into the same stitch. Skip 1 stitch, the next stitch is the same thing, single crochet and a double crochet. And that's what we're going to repeat until we get to the end of the row. Now if you notice, when we skip 1, we're always working into the single crochet, never the double crochet. So when we skip 1, we're actually skipping that double crochet from the previous row, and we're working in the single. So we skip this one in the next stitch, which is the single crochet from the previous row. We single crochet and double crochet into that same stitch. Skip 1, and in the next, single crochet and double crochet. And we're just going to keep repeating that. Skip 1, and in the next, which is always a single crochet. We always are working into the single crochet. We single crochet and double crochet. So I'm going to repeat this pattern until I get to the end of the row. Alright, I'm coming to the end of row 2, and we are going to skip this last double crochet, and then the single crochet here on the end, we're going to just single crochet into it. It's actually kind of a chain, but it counts as a single, just like that. And you still should have 11 of these sets. So now we're just going to repeat that row 2. We chain 1 and we turn our work, and in the very first stitch we work a single crochet and a double crochet into the same stitch. Then we skip 1, and in the next stitch, single crochet and double crochet into the same stitch. Skip 1, in the next stitch, single crochet and double crochet. Remember, you're always working into the single crochets from the previous row. Skip 1 and repeat the pattern, single crochet, double crochet. And when we get to the end of the row, we do the same thing that we did for row 2. We just skip this stitch, and in the last stitch we single crochet. And you'll always have 11 sets of those single crochet doubles into the same stitch. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to keep repeating that row back and forth, back and forth. You can do it for as many rows as you like. I'm going to do it for a total of 15 rows. Alright, I got my 15 rows done. This is what it looks like. And remember, you can always do more if you want. Don't tie off now. Now we're going to go around the entire piece with a row of single crochet to clean up all the edges. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the chain 1. Now we're going to go back, we're going to work down the side. And it's going to be kind of hard to see where the stitches need to go because you're kind of working. But try to put one at the end of every row, a single crochet. Or do your best to. Or just evenly space them out the best that you can. So I kind of just put one kind of right here in this hole, just kind of show you what I'm doing. And then this longer space here, kind of wiggle my hook in between that chain there, and then I'll put a single crochet there. And then again into the next little hole, and then wiggle it through like that. The next little hole, and then wiggle it through. I'm just going to do this all the way down. Okay, when you get to the end here, well, I got one more spot to go in. Right here, the end of the row. You want to put 3, you see here's where we started because there's your tail. You want to put 3 single crochets into that corner. That'll help round the corner out a little bit. Like that. And then I'm just going to work 1 single crochet across the bottom here. In every stitch, you should be able to see pretty close to where the stitches are. Now when you get while we're working around this pot holder, there's no certain number of stitches that you need to have, because you might have a different number than me. Since we're just kind of trying to evenly space out our single crochets. The only thing that matters is that we have an even number of stitches. We need to make sure that we have an even number. So I'm just going to continue all the way around. Working 1 single crochet in every stitch. And then when I get into each corner, I'm going to put 3 single crochets. And then I'm going to do my best to try to evenly space out my single crochets up this side. And then I'm going to put 3 single crochets into this corner. And then I'm going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch across the top. And then I'm going to meet you right back here at our starting point. Alright, I have made it back to my starting point. And here's my last stitch. Now, remember when I said you needed to have an even number of stitches this time all the way around? Now, yours might be different than mine, but go ahead and count your stitches all the way around. Now, if you have an even number right now, put 2 single crochets into this last stitch. If you have an odd number, put 3. It doesn't make any difference what you have, as long as I ended in an even number. So I'm going to put 2 stitches in that last stitch, so I will still have an even number of stitches. Now if you had an odd number and you put 3 stitches in there, it'll make you end in an even number. So it's okay if you didn't have the same amount as me, because when you're working on the sides of these, it's really hard to kind of determine where the stitch needs to go. So yours might be different than mine, and that's fine. It's no big deal. So now what we're going to do is make sure you got your even number. We're going to end in a slip stitch into our first single crochet. So remember, this is our chain 1. We don't want to go into that. We want to go into our first, this was our chain 1 that we did. We want to go into our first single crochet that we made. And then we're going to clip that off. like that. Now I'm going to go around it with some white. Now you don't have to do this if you don't want to. Well, some off-white, I guess. Let's put a little picot edging. Now you can start anywhere you want. I'm going to start opposite side of where I just ended. I don't know why. I always do that. I'm just going to start up here in the corner somewhere. Anywhere is fine. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm going to go back into that same stitch and single crochet. Now I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch, but I'm going to put a picot on this one. So what I'm going to do is chain 3 after that single crochet, and then I'm going to go back down and slip stitch to make a little point at the top. Some people slip stitch it to the first chain to make a picot, and that's fine. I like to go on the side of the single crochet and slip stitch. I think it makes the picot tighter. It holds better. And then I slip stitch. Here we go. And that made that little ball looking thing on the top. That's a picot. So now I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch. And then the next stitch I'm going to single crochet and I'm going to put a picot on this one. So I'm going to chain 3 and then go back down, and I always grab the side of the single crochet and then slip stitch like that, single crochet into the next stitch, and then single crochet again into the next, and then I'll put a picot on this one. So chain 3, go back down to the side of it and slip stitch, single crochet into the next stitch, and then single crochet into the next, and put a picot on this one. And I'm just going to repeat this pattern all the way around until I get back to my starting point. Single crochet into the next, single crochet into the next, and then chain 3, putting a picot here, just like that. And if you look, you'll see that's what it starts to look like. Some little balls on it. So I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way around my entire pot holder until I get back to the beginning. Alright, I've made it back to my starting point, and your last stitch should have been a picot right there. And I'm going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into my first single crochet that I made. And then I'm going to tie that off, clip my tail. I'm going to clip any other tails that I crocheted in along the way. Bunch of them. Okay, then I'll just have to hide this one here, and that is it. That's all there is to it. I think it turned out pretty cute. Cute little something to set your hot pots on. Remember though, if you're going to use this for a regular pot holder where you're going to grab pans out of the oven, definitely double it up. I mean, 100% do that. Otherwise, you know, it'd be great for just for a hot pad. You know, that's probably what I'll use it for, or even a you know, washcloth or whatever. So I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Remember, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you look up in the left hand corner, you'll see a picture of my face. Click on my nose or something, and then you'll automatically be subscribed, and you'll never miss any of my updates. Also, don't forget to check me out on Facebook. To link to those pages are below in the description box. So until next time, have a good day.